Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the African Fashion Business Summit again. Today, we have a special guest who will be talking about jewelry as art in Africa. However, I would like to begin the proper way. My name is Damia Demeloko. I will be the host for today, and you're joining us. That's African Fashion Business Summit. And for those that are just joining us for the first time, Africa Fashion Business Summit is an initiative of Legendary Gold Limited and is an offshoot of the African Fashion Reception. To know more about the African Fashion Reception, kindly visit www.africanfashionreception.com. The African Fashion Business Summit is organized annually by the Legendary Gold Limited in collaboration with Africa Union, and it has been held annually since 2016. Well, 2020 is the one year many people do not count, so excluding 2020 due to the COVID-19. African Fashion Business Summit is a platform that presents the conversation for business in African fashion business. That's conversation for business in Africa for fashion businesses. And it's the melting point for the entire African fashion ecosystem. So we are aiming to ensure that the back end and the front end of the industry, merge and conversations between entrepreneurs, designers, manufacturers, investors, retailers, consumers, can be louder and can, create a consumer driven industry for Africa. The goals of the African fashion business is to keep the conversation and practice of sustainability going in the fashion value chain. Also to identify and link innovative fashion startups that need investors to potential financial partners, right? And then we hope to keep the conversation as around technology going, to support African fashion's ecosystem and to, recognize the challenges the industry is encountering, as well as keep a conversation going to prefer solutions through our global network. Today, we're delighted to have the CEO and founder of Magogs, Wong, and I want her to first of all assist with pronouncing our name because I do not want to pronounce it wrongly. So, Magogs, can you help us by pronouncing your name, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Margaux. Margaux Wong.
Margot. Okay.
Yes, it's Margaux.
Okay. Okay. So we will start the conversation. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, what country are you from? And then you go on to telling us about your education. If it has anything to do with fashion, that's jewelry. Okay.
Okay, so I'm Margaux and founder of the brand Margaux Wong. I am originally from Guyana in South America,
Okay.
and I'm blessed to have become a Burundian through
Wow.
marriage.
Oh wow.
So my husband is a wonderful Burundian man. Um, so I'll tell you a little bit about me personally, so you have a little
Okay.
insight, and then we'll talk about the
Fantastic.
professional side. So I'm 38 years old, and
Okay. You don't look it.
thank you. And I'm a mom of five.
Okay.
Um, our youngest child is 9 months old, so I have a little baby at home.
Oh wow.
I founded my brand when I was 18, so that was like 20 years
20
ago.
years ago. Wow.
20 years ago. I love life and I love Africa for sure. So about the brand, Margaux Wong was founded in Guyana, which is where I'm from.
Okay.
And we started out as it has always been a sustainable brand because I believe that I have, as I guess, a sustainable mindset. So when I initially started the brand, I was using bones and stones and pieces of bamboo and basically whatever I could find,
Okay.
around me. And I also did a lot of textile designs. I always love to use natural materials,
Okay.
materials that we could access, directly from wherever I was situated.
Okay.
So back then I was in Guyana, now I'm in Burundi.
Okay.
And so we basically have the same um, ethos, basically, which is to make sure that we're utilizing, or I am utilizing the materials that can be easily accessed around, that, are not harmful to the environment. And the aim is also always to produce, something that's beautiful and artistic
Okay.
and long lasting. Um, from whatever I can access around me. Um, we work with cow horn, which is an accessible material within Burundi, and also brass.
Okay.
And we work with Burundian artisans,
Okay.
who are very, very well, very talented craftsmen.
Wow. Okay.
And that's something I'm really proud of,
Okay.
because Burundi in the past has been known for wars, genocides, and
Right. Right.
poverty. And even today, Burundi is has been classified as the poorest country in the world.
Hmm. Wow. How does that
And when I
feel living there?
well, when I look around, I I see differently. I definitely see
Okay.
differently. I think Burundi is a very wealthy nation, which has passed through, some very, very, very unfortunate situations. Um, but there is a lot of wealth here. The people are vibrant and, and ready for good leadership.
Okay.
That's my take on it. Yeah, but business has been really, really good in Burundi for me personally. So I believe that there's scope for doing good business in Burundi. So we sort of, shy away from the idea of Burundi being, a country that is too poor, um,
Right.
to succeed, basically. You know, um, I really like to look at the positives, and I see so many positives around. So we're working on those and trying to encourage the younger ones to sort of do the same.
Embrace. Right. So can you tell us about your background, education wise? Did you learn, jewelry making? Did you go to any school to learn about this, or you just, picked this up and you taught yourself?
Well, I've always been artistic.
Okay.
Growing up, art was something that was very, very treasured in my home. My
Okay.
mom had a mental illness from the time I was a child, and
Okay.
one of the things that sort of helped us together, because I was her only child. Um,
Wow.
one of the things that sort of helped us to be strong and to find hope and joy and happiness is art. My mom is
Right.
also an artist, um,
Okay.
and yeah, I'm very, very happy that I sort of got that from her. The
Okay.
not only the ability, but also, the passion, to sort of dream and manifest the things that I'm dreaming about.
Okay.
So I'm self-taught, definitely
Wow.
self-taught,
Wow.
and I sort
That's
of
extremely impressive.
I give a lot of credit also to my grandfather, because I grew up
Okay.
around my grandparents, and my grandfather was a very handy person. Um, he was always like building something or making something. So I learned about tools and the importance of tools and how to use tools from a very, very, very young age. So trying, different techniques, working with different materials has been something that's been very natural to me. Um,
Okay.
the work you see currently are not made by my hands. I do work with
Okay.
artisans.
Artisans.
Um,
Okay.
yes, I do work with artisans. My job is basically to have a vision and to create
Okay.
collections and to give direction, to the people I work with, who are much, much better than I am, and sort of pull out the best in them and help them to also grow their craft and their skills. Um, but educationally, I am a business major, um, and I did attend the London College of Fashion briefly while I
Oh
lived in the
wow.
UK.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but jewelry making is just something that I didn't pick up.
You've
It's just
always
something that
loved.
I yeah, I've always loved. Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's great to know that you have a background in business, because that is like the lifeline of any fashion enterprise, especially in Africa, right? So, why did you name your brand after yourself? Why did you name your brand, you know, Margaux Wong?
Margaux, you know, growing up, I didn't like my name at all. So
Okay,
my middle name is Christelle. So at school, I told everyone that my name is Christelle, and I asked my teachers to
okay.
call me Christelle because I didn't like Margot.
Why?
So I don't know. I just thought it was a very awkward name. Um, but that had a lot to do with my identity, and
Okay,
I suppose growing up, I did experience somewhat of an identity crisis because I grew up in a sort of a ghetto neighborhood, and the family around me and even the people around me were, let's just say that I was very light skinned for the neighborhood I was growing up in. It was very uncommon to see
okay.
someone with blonde hair and light skin, in that neighborhood.
Hmm.
And although I didn't see myself that way because my grandfather, my grandfather is a black Guyanese man, very wonderful, handsome man, and I sort of saw myself as, always I've seen myself as a black woman, um,
Okay.
and I never knew any black women with the name Margot. It just didn't make any
Right.
sense to me.
Yes.
It's a French name, um, and it just didn't fit with me very well until I became a teenager and sort of began to understand myself and my identity and started to love myself for who I was and understood the meaning of the word Margot. It actually means pearl. So it's something very precious,
Wow.
something to protect and take care of. It's something valuable. And I started to associate myself with the name more and more. So I started to introduce myself to people as Margot.
Wow.
Now, in that being, I felt like I wanted to share that beauty with the world.
Right.
Um, and the work I do, my design, it's very, very deeply connected to who I am as a person. Um,
Okay.
I recently did a new collection, and which is going to be released in January. And I'm not going to say the name of the collection quite yet, but this collection carries the name and the spirit and the aura of someone very, very dear to me who I lost recently. So, in designing it, there was a deep connection between my personal life and what I was outputting as a designer.
Okay.
So I feel like it's really fitting. I felt like it was fitting to name my brand after myself, because I just knew that as I carried on, my designs would be influenced by me as a person,
Right.
as an artist, as a mom, as a daughter, as a. So
As a
that's
wife.
your
Right.
answer. Yes, yes.
Okay. I was gonna ask you why did you start a jewelry brand? You know, a lot of people could have been a fashion designer, you could have been a painter, like an artist, you could have been a um you could have been a what else? Maybe an interior
A
designer. Why
stylist.
a
Yeah.
stylist? Why did you choose jewelry?
Well, when I started out, I was working with jewelry as well as textiles. Now, remember, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I've had a lot of time to think, a lot of time to process, and a lot of time to refine my vision. Um,
Right.
and also, learning about the market, learning about, what's needed. What I
Right.
learned over the years that jewelry is actually, especially in Burundi, it's actually something that not many designers have been paying attention to.
Right.
If I need a maxi dress, for instance, I can go almost to any shop and I can pick up
Everywhere.
a
Yeah,
maxi dress,
fine.
right?
Right.
Exactly. And then I'm very, very hands-on with my business. I've traveled to so many places with suitcases of, fabrics. And then I've also traveled with like a small carry-on with like hundreds of pieces of jewelry. And when you
Right.
sort of weigh it, it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. I considered the business aspect of it and decided that I really needed to sort of focus on
Right.
something that I really enjoyed, something that I was good at, but something that can also give me a greater return on my investment.
Fantastic.
Um,
So a
and I
balance
found that jewelry,
between business and passion. So, you know,
absolutely,
something you're passionate about and something that will give you the right remuneration. You get to make your money, right? Because it's important to make money as much as you're
yeah,
creative and passionate. You know, it's important to have the money flowing. That's the life of the business.
absolutely, absolutely,
Fantastic.
and the when I consider my vision and the impact I'd like this company to make, not just in Burundi but globally, I think it's very, very important that I engage with aesthetics that are rare, because that
Right.
that would help the brand to stand out. Um,
You know, that brings me to my next question. I was going to ask you, what exactly is your brand aesthetics? Where do you draw your inspiration from in general? I know that every collection is different from the other, right? But from the images I've seen of your designs, there's still some, you know, they're still cohesive. There's still a story there. There's a clear story that your brand is communicating. So what is that brand aesthetics?
hmm. um, well, I try to design what I consider classic pieces. So, for instance, like hoop earrings may be trending, like everyone is doing hoop earrings. Um, and that's great. Trends actually help the fashion world to stay alive.
Right.
Um, it's very important. As humans, we're like creatures of habit, and if I see my sister wearing a certain thing, then I'm like, oh, I'd like to wear that as well, and it continues like that. You kind of pull from each other and follow each other. But for me, it's always been wanting to do something that's completely unique and that stands out completely, but
Right.
is lasting.
Right.
So when I'm designing, I consider, elements that are permanent, in my environment and in the world that we live in. And so, for instance, like nature is, one huge inspiration for me. I love, the silhouette of leaves and mountains, and the flow of water from a waterfall, and it's very personal for me. And I also like to make jewelry that I myself would want to wear. Um,
Right.
in Burundi, women are quite reserved in their jewelry
Conservative?
choices.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So, little tiny rings and, little earrings and things like that. Um, so I also in even though I do create a lot of statement pieces, there are um, aspects of what I do that relate directly to Burundi and the culture of the people.
Right.
Um, I'm from South America, so there's the also other cultural aspects that influence what I do. This is a leaf pendant, and obviously inspired by nature. I can imagine like a massive leaf somewhere covering someone from the rain. Um,
Right. It's beautiful, by the way. Really
Thank you so
beautiful.
much. Thank you.
It is. So,
Yeah. So.
it
Mhm.
brings us to the next question. What is your take on African jewelry? What do you think about African jewelry? I'm glad that you mentioned that Burundi women, are minimalists. They do not do a lot of loud jewelry. They're very
Right.
reserved and conservative. So knowing what African jewelry in general is, we're very loud. African jewelry in general is loud, is bold,
Yeah.
colorful, eccentric, unusual, right? Then you're living in an African country where the women are conservative. What is your take on African jewelry, and how has it inspired your brand now? And how are you trying to change the narrative in Burundi?
Um, I mean, even before I knew I would come to Africa or be based in
Okay,
Africa, I was influenced and inspired by African jewelry. Um, I mean, and that's such a broad term as well, African jewelry,
right.
because Africa is so vast. I mean, the cultures are so vast. We can't measure, and definitely cannot box any of it in. But I'm continually inspired, you know, um, by the beading of the Maasai or South African beading,
Hmm. Right.
the brass work of the Kenyans.
Right.
Um, it's just I'm very, very inspired by jewelry everywhere I go. I mean, I've seen a lot of
Right.
Africa as well, and there's a what can I say? There's an antiquity to traditional
Right.
African jewelry that I absolutely love. I consider myself like an old soul, so anything that's like old traditional, um, and goes way back. It's artifacts. I would say they're artifacts. I really really love. I think most African jewelry or African jewelry designers are influenced by um, more traditional pieces. I think what I would like to see though is a bit of a more modern take on traditional designs and techniques.
Okay.
Um, because I think that's also one of the drivers of the marketplace. Being able to be contemporary, yet hold on to a bit of the rich culture and the rich heritage.
So would you say be
Um,
contemporary in your processes, but then your designs and creativity stays in line with culture and tradition?
well, I think humans are evolving, like we are
Right.
evolving over time. And I think in order to sort of remain relevant, we have to evolve.
True.
whether it's our lifestyle, the way we live day to day,
Right.
the way we do our work, the way we
Right.
design our jewelry, our clothing.
Right.
I think for me, I would really like to have a world view on what I produce. So I
Right.
consider, would this necklace be appealing to, you know, my home clients, but also would it also be attractive to maybe women, 2 continents down, because the world is a village after all, and
It
we're
is
jumping
a
from place
global
to
village.
place.
Right.
Absolutely. And so I think I think it's very, very possible, and I see it happening already, to sort of hold on to those traditional values and traditional aesthetics and sort of, slowly enter into the world market, um,
Right.
as you evolve, into more contemporary looks. I think I'm excited about seeing more of that, you
Okay.
know.
So,
Yeah.
would you describe your brand as a sustainable African brand? Would you describe yourself as sustainable? Would you describe it as an African brand?
I I have committed basically my life, um, to representing and to showcasing Burundi. After all, I have married a Burundian. Our children are Burundian, and I am Burundian.
Ah, that's
And so
nice.
and my brand has grown and developed and evolved and come to where it is today on the continent. And it's all because of the people who have supported the brand. The country
Right.
that I'm in right now has been incredibly supportive.
Um,
So yes, I consider the brand an African brand, and I
Fantastic.
also we are a sustainable brand. I'm trying to find another word for sustainable, but I think that's the word we can use for now. Um, our values sort of reflect sustainability and sustainable practices. So yeah, the African sustainable brand.
Okay, that's great to know. I asked because you had mentioned that you began the brand over 20 years ago, and that was definitely not while you were in Africa. So, but I'm also delighted to hear you say that, you are you identify your brand as an African brand and sustainable at that. So that brings me to the next question. How do you source materials for your brand? I know you probably source your materials locally or just within the continent, if I'm right. So can you tell us the process? How do you source your materials? Do you have a particular supplier? Are you just inspired by almost anything? And what are your jewelry made of? What materials are they made of?
Right. So the jewelry are made of cow horn and
Okay.
brass. We've done capsule collections using silver previously as an experiment. And in the future, we're definitely going to be working with gold.
Okay.
Um, but we source our cow horn locally. Um, and we basically, get there are businesses who source the horn and we purchase from them, or we source directly from abattoirs or junkyards or wherever we can find the horn. Um, and the brass is sourced locally as well. Although the material might have been imported, so we utilize like broken drum cymbals, which are
Okay.
brass, and all kinds of bits and bobs that we can find around. Uh, Unfortunately, there where my designs are going, there are some materials that I cannot source locally, and even some
Okay.
skills that I can't source locally.
Locally.
Um, yeah, but we're working through it, trying to figure it out as we go along
Right.
slowly. Yeah.
That's fantastic to know. So, the cow horns, how do you gather them? I know that there's definitely going to be a process involved before they can look this beautiful, right? And is the process like, is it very, is it like a delicate process or more energy intensive? Can you take us through that process? How do you convert cow horns, you know, from what it looks like to jewelry?
And it's definitely not a very delicate process.
Okay.
It takes a lot of elbow grease,
Wow.
because the cow horn is, it's very rough and heavy and hard, and um, I wish I could show you really.
Right.
But the horn, basically, we try to use like the entire horn, and for
Okay.
each part of the horn, the anatomy of the horn is very peculiar in that the tip is very solid, and as you come down and as it opens up, it becomes thinner and thinner and hollow. um, so there are different processes based on the part of the horn that we use and what we're trying
Okay.
to create.
Wow.
um, So we utilize different kinds of tools like bench
Right.
grinders, drills, saws, sandpaper.
Do you do you
uh,
engage in do you engage in the process yourself, or your the artisans will go through the process for the brand?
so I sort of oversee, but I also have
Right.
hired people who are very good at what they do.
Right.
So initially, when I started working with my artisans, at least the main artisan, he was not working with cowhorn, but he was working with ivory.
Right.
And so, because I could not find anyone who worked with cowhorn, so he sort of transferred his skills to
To
cowhorn.
cow horn. Right.
Yes. So now, he has grown so much. But let me just walk you through. Let's say, for instance, this ring. So this is cowhorn, and
Wow.
it's the natural color of the horn. That's the first thing. So
Okay.
with cow horn, we can get at least four shades of horn, with the
Okay.
natural, beautiful color. And then within those four shades, there are also other shades in between.
Top
So we
shades.
have,
Okay.
yeah, so we have black, white, brown, and sand. I call it sand, which is like what,
Like a
a
nude
khaki.
tone.
Yes,
Khaki. Like
exactly,
nude.
exactly.
Right.
Yes, like pretty much like this.
Okay.
Um, and so, for instance, with the ring, I already know that I need a thick piece of horn, so we work towards the top of the horn, which is the heavier
Okay.
part. We begin by cutting the horn, and then we draw, with a stencil, the shape. Most times we use a hand saw, so you'd find someone basically cutting through the horn with a hand saw. And once we get the correct shape, then the bench grinder comes in. So the bench grinder is a machine that has a wheel on the end, and it spins. And so you put the horn on the wheel as it goes. It kind of
Hmm.
shaves away at the horn, so it helps us with the shape. Then we use sandpaper, and we
Okay.
use about 6 to 7 different grains of sandpaper. So this horn has this little tiny thing has seen, so much work before it actually
Processes.
came to
Looks
this,
this
yeah, to this
beautiful.
shiny, yeah, really,
Yes.
really beautiful.
It's a lot of
And
polishing and sandpapering and oh my God.
absolutely, absolutely. And we like to say that, cow horn is our gold. Like it's
Right.
such a valuable material to us
And a lot
in
of
our work.
Africans do not know that.
And I hope the news gets out that, hey, this material can do so much. Like we make
Right.
all kinds of jewelry, rings, earrings, bracelets, but I also, other pieces of, more elaborate things like masks and
Right.
belts and even sculptures. We've made like
Mhm.
mini sculptures.
Miniatures.
Um,
Yeah. That
yeah,
is
of like
fantastic.
beautiful African faces, and there's so much that can be done. And something I'd like to say is that I think it's very important to always sort of look around and see what's around you, and allow your creativity to sort of guide you.
Right.
Because sometimes we see something that we consider not valuable, but that's why
And then,
we're here. We're here to
right.
add value. We need to find ways of adding value to the materials that are around us. So anyone looking, listening, that you want to design, but you're stuck. You know, Trust me when I say you have enough around you, just in your whatever is 10 meters away from you. You can possibly use it to create something that's
Right.
amazing and unique and beautiful. Um, yeah, it's very, very important to know that.
Wow. Okay, so the cow horns, do you source them from the abattoirs? Do you source them from, the meat market or the, what do you call them again? How do you source the horns? Do you buy them? Are they given to you for free? Do you do like an exchange for the cow horns? Do you see what I mean? I want to understand the process of collecting the cow horns.
Yeah.
Or from
So
a
we have
ranch? Do you work with a ranch? Okay.
we have suppliers of corn
Okay.
who themselves work with the abattoir. Um, so we would collect from our suppliers. We purchase them
Right.
from them. Um, but also there are neighborhoods or provinces in Burundi where nothing is done with the horn, and they're
Right.
sort of
You just collect
doubtful.
them.
And we collect them, or we ask, people in maybe those neighborhoods to collect them, and then we pay them for those
Right.
spaces. Just so that within the process, the community is benefiting. Um, yeah, so that's what we do. So the abattoir, we have suppliers who collect from the abattoir, and we also collect from the community around.
Right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so that brings me to the question of how has it been building a structure, a business structure around a jewelry brand like yours? It's if it's like a regular or like the modern day jewelry brand where where you source your products, the quantity you can make out of a certain amount of material. This is different. These are cow owns that you're dealing with, and I'm sure that different horns will come with different textures, and the value of each horn will differ from the other. How do you put a structure around? How do you put a structure around the business? How have you been able to stay profitable? Would you say that the structure is just the same way as every other jewelry business, or is there something unique about your business structure?
That's a very good question. Um, you know, I actually don't have a lot of insight into other jewelry businesses.
Okay,
So, when your process is your process, and
right,
that's all you make it work.
right,
Um, But in my case, I mean, I started the business a while ago, and I had some kinds of processes and structure that worked for me and that helped us to stay profitable, at least to grow organically. Um,
Right.
and I'd say that it's a business structure. Like we know that the whole point is to be profitable. So using materials that are not expensive, for instance, or not costly. Um, like gold, for instance, your investment would have to be much larger than if you're using brass. If
Mm.
we're using diamonds, the investment would be much larger
Huge. Right.
than using cow horn. Um, but I think it's also a process because we do hope to get to that point at some stage.
Right.
But it's mathematics, calculating how many rings
Exactly.
I can get from a horn and what do I need to pay my staff, what are my
The
overheads,
labor, overheads, all
um,
of that.
exactly, what's my rent, how much is it going to cost me to go to let's say artisan markets in Kenya or to expose my work in New York. These kinds of costs all add up, and we try to do the math basically. But
Right.
I am actually now a part of an incredible accelerator program, um,
Right.
which has
In
really
Burundi.
helped. Well, it's an international accelerator program focusing on
Okay.
African designers.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and the organization is called the Ethical Fashion Initiative.
Yes. Initiative.
Yes.
Yes.
And so in 2019, there was a call for designers, who wanted to kind of forward their businesses, to accelerate the growth of their businesses. And I applied, and over 250 other designers across the continent applied as well. And six of us were chosen um,
Wow.
to be a part of this accelerator program. And it's a 2-year program. But what they have done is they have basically come into our business and working along with us to sort of develop structures and strategies
Right.
and effective frameworks that we can utilize in order to grow and to grow well. So, you know, before the Ethical Fashion Initiative, I was dreaming of doing a business plan, for instance, for years and years and
Right.
years. I kept
Right.
saying to myself, Margot, you need to do a business plan. You need to do a
Right.
business plan.
Right.
Margot, you need to do this. You need to put this in a proper structure. You need to. I kept saying these things to myself, but I didn't know how to do it. I couldn't. You can read and get information, but until someone actually takes your hand and kind of gives you guidance, sometimes when you are everything to your business, it's impossible, to sort
To
of,
do everything.
yeah, and to be excellent at everything.
Right.
So the Ethical Fashion Initiative, they've provided mentors. So I have, design mentors and marketing and merchandising a mentor and media mentor. And so basically, I have someone who is equipped and professional in the
Skilled.
industry.
Right.
Exactly, and they're giving me guidance. And those of us who are in the accelerator program are all benefiting from this. So I've managed to do an amazing business plan. I've learned how to do a proper collection plan. So normally I would just sit down and sketch some designs and then I just
Right.
go to the workshop and make them. But now there's actually a structure for doing that, which I didn't know existed.
That's
But you
good.
can actually, do designs and have a spreadsheet and, you know, communicate your designs more effectively. And there are all kinds of other things, skills that I've gained, through this accelerated program.
I'm so
So
glad
I'd
to
say
hear
that
that.
I'd say that you know For me, I started out with the skills I had and made the best of those skills, and found myself in the company of people who were able to guide me a step further
Right.
or steps further. So I'm excited to continue, using those skills and then gain to see, where it leads me.
Okay. So this brings me to a question. I'm featuring a question. Can you see the screen where somebody says, how can people place orders for your works?
Okay. Well, for now, I take orders via social media and
Okay.
email. But we
So you do
are
not have a
launching.
website yet?
We do have a website for more. It's more for viewing of, of our work, of the arts, of what we do. But we're gonna have a shop in October, and
Fantastic.
yeah, it's been a long time coming. I'm so
Yes, it
happy
has.
that our admirers and our fans are gonna be able to purchase Margaux One.
Right.
Very, very
Right. Okay, so I would like you to just give like a charge, like an advice to young African entrepreneurs who are in the jewelry business. Not many people are on the scene. Not many African entrepreneurs, not many young people have embraced jewelry making. And many of them have issues of sourcing materials. Many of them do not understand that they have rich quality materials around them, right? So, what do you have to say to them? What would be your advice? I would say, look around you. You can find all kinds of materials, but what would you, a jewelry designer, what would you say to them?
um, I think it's very important to connect with your vision because
Wow. Okay.
whatever we make, whatever we create, whatever we build, it first it was born somewhere. It was born in our minds, in our hearts. It was so it's very important to connect with your vision and not be afraid of
Right.
it. Not be afraid to dream and not be afraid to see yourself as unique and one of a kind, and to know understand that you have something special to offer the world that no one else has. And the more you look inwards, the more you connect with that thing. What the mistake we make a lot of the time is, we look around to see what others are doing, and
Right.
because it looks safe, we latch onto that. We get on the bandwagon. Oh,
Right.
this person is working with cow horn. Let me work with cow horn.
We don't
But that may
explore.
not exactly. So I think it's important for us all, whether we're in the fashion industry or not. I think because I found great purpose in what I do, and that's the reason I can continue to do it. Whether we're having sales or it's a bad season, where sales are low, whether I have difficulty finding materials, whether I'm having challenges within my workshop with my artisan, you know, I'm motivated to keep going and to persevere, you know, um,
Right.
because it's the vision, it's there, I'm holding on to it, it's dear to me,
Right.
it belongs to me, and it's
Right.
coming from me. No one can
Yes.
take that from you. When I
Exactly.
first started doing my art in Burundi, I was discouraged by a lot of people. Some people said, maybe you need to go back to where you're from, where people understand your work. Burundi is a poor country. No one would ever support you. It's too bad. That's a lot of naysayers, and I ignored them, all of them. I'm just that type of
Ignore
person that
naysayers.
I just cork my
Tune out.
ears.
Tune out.
Yeah, and
Right.
just focus on what I see and what's in my heart and what I feel driven to do. Um,
Right.
and now, I'm so happy that the work we do is
It's
actually,
gaining attention. Yes.
yeah, but it's also showcasing Burundi. And
Right.
it's to hear someone say, "What, you're working in Burundi? Like, how? Burundi is such a poor country. How can you? Does Burundi market support your business? These kinds of things." And the answer is yes, I
But
can
you
do
are
it.
supporting Burundi markets. You are promoting Burundi markets. That's what you're doing. You're bringing Burundi
That's
to the stage, to the world. You're showing the world that Burundi is not a poor country. There's so much that Burundi can offer. That's what I
absolutely.
see.
And I thank you. And I think, for everyone who can stop and say, "Oh, well, I can't be a designer because my country doesn't have this and that," or, "I grew up in a poor family," or, you know, um, "we don't have capital," because that's a major thing that I hear a lot of young people saying. "Oh, I don't have
Mm-hmm.
capital." Well, I actually started making jewelry with bamboo and bone pieces that I found around, shells that I found on the beach. Um, so again, like you said, you can look around and find materials and resources wherever you are
Right.
and whatever your circumstances. I think it's up to you. Your drive is up to you. Are you driven? And why are you doing what you're doing? And
Right.
are you trying to make a difference in your community? Because those things are very, very important to consider.
Yes,
A
they
lot of
are.
people see fashion as, very extravagant and, um, yeah, red carpet, the finished products. They see the finished products, but in truth, there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of getting your hands dirty. There's a lot of
Right.
rejection. There will be lots of people who will say you can't do it.
Right.
So you have to always go back to the vision.
True. It's this
Yeah,
is brilliant. I am inspired by you. I am inspired by, your brand identity. You connect with your brand so well, and I am so glad that you see yourself as a major role. You see your brand as playing a major role in promoting Burundi as a nation and as a people, because the artisans you work with are from Burundi. The materials you use at the moment, some of them are sourced locally. For me, that is a lot. And I trust that many young African jewelry designers can learn so much from your brand. This person is asking, would you be open to collaborating with other e-commerce platforms and offline retail chains? Would you be open to that? Okay, so
absolutely.
Margot says yes. So Adelaya, if you need more information and you need to contact Margot directly, you can send us an email. We would link you up with Margot so that you can make your business inquiry, right? So this will bring us to the end of this session, Margot. Thank you so much. Thank you for being open and sharing from your heart. I heard you speak from your heart. I'm really grateful. I love your designs. I do look forward to patronizing you from your online shop. I look forward to wearing one of your pieces, and I'll definitely be sharing a picture. We have an event, a summit coming up in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, in October. So I look forward to speaking more about your brand because you're now one of my favorite African jewelry brand. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Margot. Thank you.
My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
My pleasure.
People will get to, I look forward to sharing this content more for people to view because many times for young brands and upcoming brands in Africa, people connect more to the story, and you've shared your story with us, and the world needs to hear it, and we will do our best to ensure that the world hears the story. So thank you,
Thank
Margaret.
you
Thank
so
you for this
much. My
session.
pleasure.
And thank you everyone for joining us today. It was supposed to be a webinar, but in turn became like an interview session with Margaux Wong, the CEO and founder of Margaux Wong Jewelry brand. You can check out our brand, the same name, Margaux Wong, on Instagram. They're doing fantastic job. They are Burundi based. They source their product locally in Burundi. The artisans are, they are men and women from Burundi. So please encourage and support the brand and share your experience with us when you do. Thank you so much, Margot. And
Pleasure.
thank you, everyone, for joining us. And bye bye, everyone. Bye, Margot.